Okay, so you need a plan. You want to feel whether it's the external world, the internal world, make a calculated effort of energy and do it in a way that you're reducing the most pain. So some examples of these pains: not doing as well as you could be, not feeling like yourself, exhausted or tired, feeling like you're missing out on the good parts of life, physical pain, other people, not engaging with something that is important to you, anxiety, boredom, a feeling of disconnection, stress. So you want to order that, which one's the worst for you, and then deal with it in terms of which one's giving you the most grief. So yeah, like a hot air balloon, you can either turn on the fire to soar higher, or you can throw things out of it to reduce the weight of the air balloon. I'm not sure that's how it works, but that's how happiness does. By focusing on pain before happiness, you're going to become happier regardless of the external circumstances that you're striving towards. So the mistake I made was I was thinking about where I wanted to go, and I just settled for where I was, even though that wasn't good for me. So you just sidestep. You've got to think about things long term. So get rid of some of that, and then, because that future thing will always still be there for you. The best case scenario is you move forwards to what you want without all the intense suffering. And again, you can just be happy. You want to be able to be happy regardless of whether you get to your future objective or not. And the lightning in the mode metaphor is similar to the statue. So again, there's something there for the body as well. You want to be aware of all the physical pain too. We're going to do that soon. Talk about the body. The idea is to take the edge off things that are causing the most intense pain first. So anything where you feel like you've been hit with a baseball bat. I once had a car crash, and I thought, that was like a day's work at that other job. Then when you are no longer getting knocked out the park, you can choose to eliminate some pains and put up with others. Like some things, as you know, some pains is unnecessary, some things are too much and shouldn't be that way. You have to allocate your time intelligently and learn to recognise that some things must be endured if you're able to deal fully with something else. So again, you have to put up with some things, but just get rid of the worst things first. The lack of what you want should not be causing you pain. So be aware of that. So if it's something you're not doing something that's important to you, like if that's the last thing, okay, then that may be discomfort. Then that's okay. But what you want, it shouldn't be causing you pain at all. You should be able to have like nothing that you necessarily want and be okay in your state of mind. But that's just a lack of a positive, and you can be completely fine in that. But you don't want to be focusing on that while your body's being destroyed, or some other different things, or your mind. And then just proportion how much time you're going to give to dealing with these things. Okay, you empty your mind as well, so you've got your notepad, you're going to be writing down every day. Right, now this is where people get stuck. So your pains may be across all different areas of your life. It could be your finances, could be your family, could be your job, could be your relationships, could be your passion, could be your social life, your health. It's useful to make note in which one of these areas needs priority. So it's important to distinguish between long-term and short-term thinking. What might be and have the most pain might only be temporary. So you need to think about things in the long-term consequences on your overall life, because you can't always have things the way you want in one area. So what you're looking for is a feeling from that area. So put time into thinking about everything from your life and getting the feeling elsewhere. For example, some people, where are we? I was reading it word for word because it's better than I could ever improvise it. You can't have things the way you want. So for example, some people might get upset because their relationship isn't good at the moment. If there's nothing you can do about it, don't waste any time, because wasted time is just going to let the other life areas decline. which when that happens will negatively impact your relationship anyway. And because you can't control your relationship, you can influence it, but it's down to two people, and someone else might be going through it. You have to always be active in some way. So do not ignore this. Do not ignore another area, any area that has problems, just because you don't think you can deal with it. Come up with solutions and improvements. So even though you have to wait for something, you always have solutions and improvements ready. I just contradicted myself there, but you know what I mean. It's like if there's some things you can't do anything about. If there's some things you can't do anything about, then obviously you can't do anything about it. But if there's something thinking, oh, there's problems in it, I could do something about it, but it's too many problems to deal with. You still have to. That's still better than not, than being idle. So, or focusing on something else where you're not gonna get any benefit from spending time on it. When people feel stuck in the same place, it's because they haven't dealt with a particular area. So think about an area that you've been ignoring. Have you been ignoring your health? Have you not been exercising? What is it for you? And then think about, is it relationships? And these things will balance. Like sometimes you don't want to have a relationship because you're focused on work, and that's okay because you don't need relationships. But the point is, there's some people who do want a relationship, and they've got so many bad beliefs because of bad experiences in the past. So what they'll just completely ignore something for the point of ignoring it, rather than the point of, I'm ignoring it because I'm focused on this. So that's when they need to be aware of their beliefs. So exercise, relationship with exercise, people think exercise, exercising is bad, it's bad for you long term. Exercising is not bad for you if you're doing it in the right way. So you need to be aware of all the internal things over these different sections of your life. How are you going to challenge these beliefs and then get busy? How are you going to test them out? So people avoid certain areas because there is a large amount of limiting beliefs or previous negative experiences. They become too focused on another area. So it could be on your passion or something, because you think that's going to give you the most happiness, or it's going to relieve the most suffering. Even in finances, I can get my money sorted and everything else will be fine. And it's never ever the case. It can be, but you want to separate your happiness and how you feel from an external life area. It shouldn't be any negative motivations. It should all be positive. It might take a year to get your finances right. It could be that's the most important thing in your life, and it will consume your attention. But for example, if that's the case, you don't keep your focus on something you can't change, because otherwise you're just going to feel bad. All different life areas reinforce each other. So eating right and exercise will improve your work. If you do well at work, your finances are going to be better. If your finances are good, you can improve your relationship. So waiting for something to change in one area and not doing something about the others is giving away your time. Don't do that. Don't let time slip away. You feel terrible. It just needs to be productive. I haven't commented on pains. So there's no pains in a particular event because that's over. So don't fixate on anything that's happened. If you get fixated on something in the life area, like I lost so much money, you got to focus on where your attention goes is important. Making it back and different things. You've always got to be in the future. So you've got a process from different things that go wrong, learn from it, focus on the future and towards it. So the amount that you suffer will be in direct proportion to the amount of focus you give it and the amount that you've been able to process it properly. Processing is having a new way of thinking about things, changing your perspective or the meaning that you're giving it. In addition, the extent to which you're not happy or scared or in pain is the extent to which you don't take advice from others or stay stuck to your fixed ideas. For example, some of this stuff I'm saying on here, you might have heard some of that before, maybe from 2 or 3 other people, such as you should exercise, but you haven't taken that advice for some reason. People get stuck with their ideas because they because of the risk of taking time away from their main focus. And a lot of the time, the fear is because they are scared that things, if they take time away from a life area, that things will get worse in that area. And if things got worse in that area, then they'd feel terrible. So they aren't willing to risk feeling worse to feel better. And sometimes you have to do that. Keep a record of how you're spending your time. As you may think you're putting a lot of time into your relationship as an example, but the case may be you might not have spent quality time together any longer than you think. Many men love their partner more than their work. They are just doing it because of financial security or financial insecurity. So when making decisions, accurate assessments of reasons needs to be made. For example, say someone thinks to himself, I need to work 72 hours a week this week. If I don't, then the world will end. So he says to his partner, honey, I need to work. It's really important that I do this project as soon as possible. However, if he was to work 70 hours rather than 72, it would not make too much difference to their work. In fact, it might improve it, because the body and the mind will be well rested. But those extra 2 hours, well, if you put that into his relationship, what that's going to do to the week in the house for the next week, or into your diet or something. It's all balanced. We can't ever get stuck in one area. So we need to be careful of our hallucinations and our stories and the information we take in from our environment that leads to these distortions. So it's important to understand why you are doing certain things and not others. So this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. Okay? So you write this down and then it's like, right, what can I do instead of that? So this is what I'm not doing. This is why I'm not doing it. And this is how I could do it. Okay, so your current situation. So our brains are hardwired to focus on problems and pain, so make a list of all the current benefits about your current situation. It's good to read this, keep this next to your bed in the morning. It's good to read this with effort and relaxation, as it's easier to start the day from a positive mood, from neutral, than it is from negative. So if you get up and you don't do this, and you're like, oh no, life's terrible. Oh, where's my sheet? I'm in England. I don't like England. It's too late, You need to get in. Remember that your problem might be stored pain rather than the actual situation. So sometimes we can feel terrible. The situation's fine. It's a stored pain. So you need to logically get your mind right as you deal with this stored pain over time. Keeps your logical part of your mind in check from continuously replaying and repeating the negative torture of what isn't good at the moment. Yeah, because you're problem-solving machines. This will help your brain to lock onto and to generate thoughts and feelings of a positive nature rather than allowing the negative autopilot to run. What you put in is what you get out. So continue to add to your current situation a sheet like this 3 to 4 times. Yeah, don't try, okay, everything's good. A few times. You're the director who chooses where the camera goes. Think of your mind like a child who has to be told something repeatedly over and over again until he or she remembers. You'll find temporary relief from doing this, but you need to get it so ingrained that it forms the norm of your experience. Examples would be challenge and growth, how you can help others, things you don't have to do, things that you like, things you are learning. It may be helpful to brainstorm ways you can make a bad situation more bearable. Okay, what you also want to do is to continuously top up your mind as well. If things are difficult, not only do you need to keep going, but you also need something to move you enough so that you can change the circumstances. That may only be possible by what you do when you get home from work, when you're already exhausted. So at the beginning of each week, and perhaps twice later in the week, it's good to refuel yourself with internal and external sources of inspiration, of interest, enthusiasm, of laughter, to generate positive brain chemicals that enable the body and lift the mood. If you're feeling negative, you've got to put back in. Your brain is an information consuming machine and will do this regardless of whether you choose to do this or not. If you give it something healthy, it's less likely to focus on negative things, so it's important to write journals and keep notes and control your model of the world. It is also kindness to others that you engage with. If you can pass on something positive when you engage with them, especially work colleagues, one conversation or comment can kickstart a whole day, and it's good to have something to change the conversation if you have someone around you that moans all the time. The spirit of the day is important, and the day you have had at work can actually contribute to the evening when you get home. The secret to a good day is what happens in the morning, so always bring in a vibe with you. So, just keep record of things like that people talk to you about, that you can pass on to someone else. Anything like positive news, technology developments, key points. If you're watching Netflix, keep a note. Share it, pass on to someone else. It could be from a book you're reading, jokes you've heard, something funny or bizarre. Okay, so back to the dominant thoughts. So if you're going through it at the moment, you're gonna might have dominant thoughts that aren't, so nice, and they create other thoughts and feelings. So we need to keep the dominant stuff good. And you might not have had to in the past because it wasn't so obvious. Like as you get older, when you start out, things are, things you like, things you don't like. But as you get older, sometimes things start to get worse. It becomes more necessary to do it. So you might, I don't know what your condition is, but some of you, you're really going to have to be making sure you're getting this sorted. Whereas some of you, you might just have stress. You might not have the other stuff as well. So you might have, if you're just stressed, it's not going to be the same as if you've got the anxiety and the depression too. And it might not apply as much. But if you're really going through it, this is so key. Right, so for me, what I started to do was a morning routine when it became necessary to keep myself from going into a negative state of mind and having a difficult day at work. Though over time, things were still getting worse for me because I wasn't aware of all of the causes that were bringing me down. So there was a slow burn. I realised I needed to counteract what had become an automatic state of mind. And I want you to do that because it will stop you slipping back into your nightmare. Okay, so this is probably the wrong place for this, but it's okay. So I want you to also, suppose we can do one here. This is more for perception. Back to the model of the world. So you're going to start to change your life and do things that you weren't, go out to life more that you might not have done. So you've got subject, time, date, location, score. Because if you've got a faulty perception, you can even go and have a good time. When you think back to it, it might not be that good. So you've got like 1 to 10 different things you're going to do, the location, how it went, and then keep notes. And this is more for like finding enthusiasm and things like that. And actually put a date on it when you're going to do things. And go through and try to think, even if it doesn't sound that appealing, whatever it is, if you're not into jazz, go anyway. Or like I said, always go with a friend. Just go out, be out and about, Because it's your perception that's the problem, and you don't know. Anyway, and then you start noticing things like it's nice to be, in energy and things like that. And it might be because if you notice things like if you're in a different environment, if you have a friend over, compared to if you're with a friend and then you go out somewhere, there's an environment, if there's music, it changes your complete emotional state. Whereas if you weren't aware of that before, you weren't aware of it. But just go out to life, that's what I'm saying, and the perception interferes. So anyway, keep a good posture. Why is that on there? The reason you should always have a morning routine is it enables you to make the most out of your time and your day, and also because you don't know what's going to happen. So remember what I said about avoiding the baseball bat, like anything that can throw you off, you want to be ready for. So if you've exercised, you've collected your thoughts, and you're physically and mentally ready, yeah? So if something goes wrong, you have to go faster than you thought you would have done. So if you do have to rush, your body's warmed up. For fixing your mental health, the morning is a sensitive time for the mind, as the subconscious is more impressionable. So it's best time to learn. So you want to be learning, but in the morning, you want that, this is no, life's actually okay. And, you plan everything, like your finances, make sure they're planned for months. There's no uncertainty. There's no nothing to cause you to worry. Thoughts usually repeat in cycles throughout the day, so you'll want to prevent the negative program from terrorizing you. So especially if you are someone that can be late or rushes, so that they aren't late. you can't straight away decide that you're going to have a new model of the world. For example, we both know that life is potentially, depending on what you're doing, could be easier today because of the internet and all these more opportunities. But the narrative is that life will be harder. But that might not necessarily be true. There's two people with completely different things, but you want to be keeping the positive version. When life, was harder in the 40s and the 50s. Though there is still this ingrained cultural mantra, so the news, the narrative, all that stuff, you want to have your own, everything's going to be wonderful. It's a reality check-in. So, your own autopilot. The autopilot comes from not just your experiences, but what people have told you, what you've been exposed to in the past. So, the first 90 minutes in the morning, you want to have that undisturbed. Don't expose yourself to anything random. As soon as you wake up, remind yourself about your new model of the world to prevent the bad one coming in. On autopilot, so you have your own notes about what you want to think about, what's true, healthy perspective of your life, your goals, and what you're grateful for. Anything that comes with a slightly bad feeling. For example, some people have goals, but they feel overwhelmed. Or they feel down. And if you've got that thing, you don't want to think about that in the morning. You need to work through those feelings around that. But you don't want that in the morning. You've got to be 100% positive because you're starting out on a new brain. In the morning, most of all, though, you want to not focus on not thinking, nor waking up. And you don't want to be thinking too much. It's straight in. Okay, that's how it is. That can run, and you go into the body routine, which we'll get into. This is if you have, on waking up. Have your pen and paper ready to catch anything that pops out of your mind each day, as it will be either a treasure for you or a piece of junk to get rid of. The after work routine. So then in the evening, you want anything that's coming out that has a bad feeling, you're writing through it. You don't just leave it because otherwise then it's still going to stay there until you dealt with it. If you are really suffering or you have a difficult job, it will be useful for the body and the mind to have some immediate post-work routine, as it will stop you bringing any stress home and allow you to recover so you can make the most of your evening. You will be very surprised how many more hours you can get out of the evening by stretching after work, and how stretching alone can take off the stress and tiredness off you, like taking soap off the windows of a squeegee. In the evening, have your sacred time where you don't watch TV or anything else, sitting with yourself and allowing thoughts to naturally arise. This should be undisturbed by anyone. Like, you don't interrupt it because you need to go deep. If you get down and someone starts talking to you for 5 minutes, it's broken the focus. So you want to go all the way down, and you start emptying your mind thought by thought, and it might be the 6th or 7th thing that you think of. So, that person said I should try this out, and that could be the thing that changes your week or changes your year potentially, or whatever, or will make a big difference. And then there's going to be things like, okay, I need to prepare for tomorrow. So the most important things will come to surface. Or to ensure you make the most out of that day. For everything in your life, it's good. So you want to be, what did I learn today, and stuff like that. Like, it's good to have things in a routine in set places, like a chef. As if you're organised, your unconscious mind learns where things are and what to do. So you don't have to think about the same thing every day, saving mental energy. Okay, you need to think less. Always prepare for the next day, the night before. So in the morning, your brain starts off in a relaxed way. There's never going to be a rush. Every object in your house is made of energy. So have a clear, clutter-free and organised space, as this does affect how you think and feel. The evening is the best time to do all your notes from the day, and anyway you don't feel good. When planning things that you need to do, it's good to deal with how you feel about the things you have to do first, before you don't go and do them. So say there's something you've got to do, something you're nervous about. It's okay, like, why am I nervous about this? Don't just go and do something you're nervous. And then you find out this irrational belief. Yeah, probably put this in as well. Okay, because what you want to be doing is relaxing. Relaxation is the opposite to stress and anxiety. So, once you've dealt with all these beliefs, and this is what you're going to be doing, you're taking everything out, and then you're not going to be thinking as much, you're not going to be disturbed as much, and your body's going to feel better. you will be a more relaxed person, as there will be no causal tension, so the relaxation is the goal. And it does, like when you get a belief or like a memory and you've dealt with it, you realise you feel something straight away. You might get like an urge to walk or something, or an urge to stretch. Some people, it might be an emotional moment, and then you do release it. You store it and you release it. So, and that makes your base more and more relaxed over time. Relaxation is the goal. Not just temporary relaxation, but permanently living as a relaxed person. The other way relaxation helps is by making the brain more relaxed, so the thoughts of the mind not so intense and hit with such force. Remember, stress, anxiety. So relaxation, even without therapy, has fantastic lasting benefits for stress and anxiety. Now, if we imagine an experience in life is like a wave pool, so let's imagine you're laying on a lilo. I want you to imagine that as each year goes past, you turn up the intensity of the wave machine until the point where you're falling off the lilo. Now, some people are falling off the lilo and they keep jumping back on. And just as they get dry from the sun, they fall off the lilo again from the waves. Others are able to hold on to the lilo, but their focus the whole time is on not falling off that lilo. And there's not even a chance to taste the Cuba Libre. They're not enjoying the heat of the sun. I have learned in life that the waves do not stop. You've got to be able to change your consciousness, change how you feel. The best thing you can do is take that device and turn it all the way down to the most gentle setting. So turning it down a little bit is not enough. You got to really push the dial down so it clicks into a new place. And that's what I mean by like putting in effort. And going for this with the model of the world and all the thoughts you're thinking and stuff, and the emotion, if it's physical pain, like making sure you're really putting time to stretching. The best thing you can do is really take that device, and push that, It takes a deep and strong relaxation to make, I remember our language problem. So let's assume your idea of relaxation is not the same as mine. Relaxation for me is my hands turn to clay, my entire body is still, and I can focus, I'm alert. Some people's idea is relax is they've got activity in the brain when they think of something, and as soon as they relax, they're like, oh no, I've got to deal with this. There's no end, there's no complete silence, and that's what you want. Or people's silence, they can't snort, but they snooze, and that's not focused. You need to focus. And from that point of relaxation, if you relax and you focus, that's how you're going to start living your life. It's a new way of living. This is especially true if people have jobs or a business where they're thinking about something unrelated to their life all day, so in the evening and the weekend they don't have time to catch up with their own personal lives. As weeks go by, there's an iceberg of unconsidered thoughts and experiences, the unconscious mind. And the best way to access this is through relaxation. So it's like catching up on all the things you thought about. So you can do this, or sit down, lay down, or even stand up. The point is you have good posture. The whole purpose of yoga was to get the body ready for meditation, to hold head up. When I relax, both hands together, I just focus on my hands. So I feel the knuckles, and you can stare at your hands. That's the way I do it, and it works phenomenally well. Relaxation improves learning. It's a place to make links. Okay, so when you start thinking about the future, when you're relaxed and you start planning things out, your brain works better. If you're someone who time and time again thinks, I know I shouldn't eat bad food, you still go on to do it anyway, it can be like being two different people. That's because the associations between eating bad food and that aren't good enough, or even eating good food. So you need to start linking things. So you'll have more possibility to create depth and intensity where you can feel things to your core. So say you get a bad hangover, that bad hangover meant you never went out drinking without eating anymore. Whereas a light hangover, it probably wouldn't have warned you as much. So it's the intensity. So when you're relaxed, you use your mind better. It's more like a real dream. Okay, and going with intention. So your intention is you need to be creating new thoughts, new ways, improvements to whatever you do for a living, new ways of seeing the world. With new thoughts come new feelings. Now, if you have post-traumatic stress disorder or anxiety, this is some homework for you. I want you to go into town or to a busy place and then stand at the very edge. So say all the people over there, and what you're going to do is you're going to relax. So practice relaxing at home, and you're going to be like this. If this is something you normally do, so I'd recommend this if you're, if you haven't left the house yet. Say you're someone that has this condition, but you go to town, but you really don't enjoy it, but you've been doing this anyway, and you're in a bit of a condition. So this time you're gonna get to the edge of town, and rather than walking straight in, you're running the autopilot. You just relax. You stand on the edge, and you might take half an hour, 45 minutes to do this. Do this on a day where you don't have anything for hours yet, so there's no time pressure. And you become aware of time pressure sooner and sooner. Like, the more still your mind gets, the more you start noticing, there's these other things that I have to deal with. So as you deal with things, there's less and less time pressure that come into your mind. And time, the ideal way time works, is a cause of anxiety and adrenaline. It's like, right, okay, now you've got things to do. So you need to really just be organised, have everything, so your mind's not reminding you of things you have to do. So anyway, you're here, and your feet on the ground, you feel your feet, and we're going to talk about awareness soon. You can do this awareness exercise, and then you might be comfortable looking up at the buildings, and notice your eyes. And your idea is to stay relaxed, so the feeling is in the hands, and you get more used to it, and you get more used to standing, and then you might start to walk slowly, and you stay in the relaxation. And then as you get closer, if your heartbeat starts going again, or you start fidgeting, then you come back to here and you wait. And if your consciousness leaves your feet and you start thinking too much, you start thinking stop, and it's like back. No, you're in your body. And you stay, and then you start walking again and being around people again, and then you're maintaining this, and you go as far as you can while maintaining it. And it might take a few times till you get it perfect, and then you can walk through town again, and as a relaxed person rather than as a shocked one. So that's how you do it. You want to be keeping notepads with you all the time. And sometimes these thoughts you deal with, things to do and stuff like that. But eventually you won't need one as much. But in the beginning it's like you've got this iceberg of stuff. Yeah, so the idea is to be able to then be in a public place without rushing or going into a light panic mode. Be able to breathe in and move in a controlled way. You can prevent anxiety. You stop if you feel right. Pay attention to how you feel. Get used to looking at things. Don't speed up. Being aware of speeding up. Speeding up is the enemy. So stay relaxed. If it's like that kind of quick speed up, eventually it can be like an enthusiastic speed up. But there's a difference. Yeah, so in the beginning you'll be conscious of your breathing, you'll be conscious of your legs, it's all new, but then later it becomes autopilot, and then you don't have to think about this anymore, your unconscious takes over, but you've got to do the learning, you've got to do the initial stage. Okay, now, the reason... Which way should I... Okay, right, happiness. So, I'm not sure if I included this in the first video, and I'm gonna... take me forever to find it, so just in case I didn't put it in. So when were you happiest? What were you doing? Any particular preferences? Where were you? What was your life duration? So these are questions, so you can pause it if you need to. Is it in your plan for getting rid of the pain? There's also the plan for what's going to make you happiest. So I said those 5 questions. So what were you thinking about? What you're interested in? What was your world view at the time? What was your vision of the future? What were you doing? Who was you with? Was there any particular types of people? Anyone in particular? So what else was different about that time compared to now? How was your body? How was your diet? How else did you spend your time? What was your view of life? What was your view of others? What was your view of yourself? So those world models, they are where you want to be aiming. You can start to get to work straight away on that. The other stuff that you might need to reintroduce might take time. So you want to know what it is you can do now, what it is you can do soon, and what it is you can do later. Okay? You'll become aware that it is beliefs that stop us. And also fear. Now, fear is the enemy, and we've been very scared if you think about society. We've had many wars and things like that, so it's very much innate in us. If you're not doing something or involved in something that is of importance to you, that is an issue that cannot be denied. The chances you are blocked by barriers of not knowing how or there are beliefs that you have that you can work through. So I've shown you how to do that. But we need to talk about how subtle fear is. By Charles Stanley, he said, "Fear stifles our thinking and actions. It creates indecisiveness that results in stagnation. I have known talented people who procrastinate indefinitely rather than risk failure. Lost opportunities cause erosion of confidence and the downward spiral begins." Fear takes us away from what we feel is important. It is the opposite and killer of enthusiasm, but shows up in our mind as a potential scenario, or it shows up in our body as a feeling. We have fear of being hurt, criticised, fear of losing love, fear of losing money, freedom, and all of this stems from a fear of death. I believe we fear dying or not getting enough time to live the way we want. And until we have properly lived or given, then the idea of dying just becomes a preference. So something you prefer not to do rather than something that overpowers thinking. The problem with fear is it's so subtle. In 2017, we decided we were going to emigrate to Australia as we were both quite afraid of the economy here and being able to afford to have a good standard of living, which came with constant thoughts in our mind and constant scenarios. We were there for a good 9 months and I was definite that I wanted to stay until one day it hit me out of nowhere that my lifestyle depended on me and that I have as much influence over my life, even if in England where it's harder. See, the problem was my whole decision to stay in Australia was out of fear rather than preference, and what I was scared of rather than what I wanted was going to determine my life until one split second when my whole world model changed. It was my model of myself that caused the world model to change. So as the fear left, this is like me daily getting up early, doing stretches, working through this stuff that I've shown you. And you feel it leave. You really do from your body. It's mad. As the fear left, the confidence and self-belief was reignited. This is why I'm saying confidence is such an important part of mental health. It is the opposite of fear. So what you have to be aware of with fear is there are thoughts that you have that are fear-based, and there are also thoughts that your partner, your friends, your colleagues, your family will have and give to you in the form of advice and the form of care. So you've got to be able to recognise when they're sharing their worries or concerns with you about potential scenario, as the fear choice is almost always wrong. Fear is also a problem when people do things out of fear. It's like anger. You should never do things when you're angry, you should never do things when you're scared. Fear is generally a problem when people get stuck in a place. They get scared of making the wrong choice. Overwhelming fear is when there are many things that a person is scared of. So with big fears, you've got to be aware of every worst case scenario and put pen to pad. Being fearless is not to be confused with not carrying out due diligence and patience. And for those of you who would give anything to emigrate to Australia, you cannot get a good curry. You can get a good Thai, but you can't get a good Indian. Honestly, we were just disappointed down the whole East Coast. And when is this going to end? But we did find one in Brisbane. I got the best review on TripAdvisor. Okay, so people, that's not brutal. So, benefits of your condition. Right, so this might sound crazy, but you're in a situation, you might be depressed. My intention is for you to get the most out of this, so bear in mind. And the only thing that stops people is self-sabotaging behaviours, it's lack of behaviour, and obviously what they see in their mind. So you need to write down what the benefits are to your current situation. And that might sound crazy. So what is there to be beneficial about wherever you are? And it's some of the things you don't have to do. Like if you have fears, if you're in a situation that you don't like, there are fears to confront, and like it's ridiculous, like how you can be scared of such, and sometimes you don't realise until you're actually doing it, like, oh, I was actually scared of doing this. Like, that's what you say to yourself. And until you get to that point. So the benefit of, not necessarily being depressed, but being in a not good situation is you don't have to confront fears. And that's not conscious, that's unconscious. So whatever it is, like whatever benefits are of your current situation, you need to write it down and think about it. And write down, and the benefit can also be things that you don't have to do in your current situation. So what you want is, you want a complete change. Like, you want to leave everything behind. So you need to keep the benefits as well. Like, move them benefits across. So you got to be fully aware of everything. Like a singer, if she's depressed and she doesn't go out to sing, she could be it could be she's overwhelmed, and that way she doesn't have to put herself out there. Because she puts herself out there, she's going to get criticised. So even if she loves to sing, the criticism might be too much, or or the physical pain that it takes to go to every single pub and walk on the concrete every day and to lug around your trumpet or your drum kit or whatever it is. So yeah, there are benefits and drawbacks, and the idea is, it's called secondary gain. Usually it's unconscious and people don't realise. Because the unconscious mind is not logical, so you've got to do your best to understand it. If it runs you on autopilot, if you know its intentions, you can win. So if you know that it's, at some level you're afraid of something, it's like, oh, that's just what that is, and then you do it anyway. What would you have to do that you're potentially afraid of? What would you have to do that you don't want to do? So this is an example. Say someone is super stressed and have gone down to work part-time, and say they work in a call centre. They're not happy because they're not earning much money, but the job for them is so stressful. So those 2 extra days or extra day off they get a week means they don't have to, and it might not be not necessarily because they don't want to work. It might not be. It's because you've really got to think about it. Like, what is it? So it can be the fact they're constantly talking all day. It can be the fact they're constantly thinking something else, when really their mind needs a break. So they can go and do something like labouring. Then they can get the money back, and but then their mind's free all week. So because emotions, they have a signal. They can make an effect on us. Okay, am I going to talk about this? Yeah, I'm just going to say it how it is. And this one, I'm pretty sure about. I think I might be affected by it more than other people. But again, this isn't as scientific as everything else. It's mainly been what I believe, what I've been noticed, and some other people notice as well. Now we're talking about environments. You want to be getting yourself to a good environment. I'll just try to do the whole thing. You got to know what's affecting you. I'm going to say it, and I'll do that in the next one. Right, okay, here we go.